Adrienne, Farcaster. It's a GM in the PM. It is Monday, March 4th. I almost said February. March 4th. And we are doing a little East Denver recap with some of our amazing friends. So Adrienne and I are here with Erica, aka Heavyweight, Grace, aka not Grace, and Ted, not Lasso. Grace, not Grace, and Ted Lasso, Ted, not Lasso, to chat about all things East Denver. We all had an amazing time getting to meet each other in person. This is the first time I met, I think, all three of you. Well, I hadn't met any of you in person before, so that was really fun. I did not get enough time with you, Ted. I think I got like 5 minutes. But I did have a really lovely breakfast with Grace and Erica, and it was incredible. But what I want to start with, and I'm going to show this on the screen, was this, as Dan said, a stacked panel at ETH Denver talking about Farcaster Fever, what people are building on Web3, social's new hit. And I started chatting about this morning, and we had a little technical glitch. And then I went, it would be so much better if Ted talked about it than me. Since how did this come about and why didn't you tell us so we could be there?
Because I genuinely did not know until 2 hours before. So Dina from Boys Club, shout out to Dina.
Who we love.
They had a main stage talk right beforehand, and she messaged me and she was like, wait, are you in Denver? Like, nobody knows that you're in Denver. And I was like, yes. And she was like, oh my gosh, there's a panel about Farcaster and I think you'd be perfect for it. And so she was like, I can loop you in if you can make it. And I was like, checked with my schedule. I have a bunch of actual work stuff. And then I was like, okay, I can make it. So yeah, that's how it came about. Showed up like
so
as it was starting.
Super last minute, just go. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I mean, the benefit is that it was with David, Rish, who I have known for years at this point. When we think about it, we're like, wow, we've actually known each other for years, which is weird. Grace, you too. It's so weird. Adrienne, you too. Prof, we're new in our friendship.
We're newish. We're newish. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's because we like live and breathe this. It was actually one of the easiest panels I've ever had to moderate in my life. And I had such a blast doing it. So thank you for everyone.
If anybody was like, here, come talk about Farcaster to any of us, it would be like, sure, we don't need any prep. Let's go. So what were your favorite parts of that panel? And then what were your favorite parts of ETH Denver? Because I know you have to shoot off pretty quickly. So I want to hit you up first. So
favorite part of the panel was looking out into the audience and being like, wow, this actually might be the most stacked or most full seats like out of any other panel to date. Then like obviously Chris Dixon went and blah, blah, blah. Like we're not going to be able to one up him. But that to me was so exciting that so many people, oh, kitty cat. That
probably had more than some of the politicians.
Yeah, exactly. So that was exciting. And then I think at the end, or at some point, I was like, who here has a Warpcast account? And it was truly 80% of the crowd that raised their hands. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but that was another like, wow moment. And then I think just having a platform for Rish and David, and then Grace, I'm excited to hear more about, I missed your panel, but I think it's just like, so great that all the people that we know on the Farcaster platform, obviously we know them and they have a platform on Farcaster, but to see them be able to talk about what they're building on a much larger stage was really exciting for me and made me feel immense pride. So that was another thing. And then afterwards, I have a picture of it, I'll share it. There was like lines behind every single speaker to talk to them. Like I even had a line behind me and I was like, guys, I did not build anything. I just talked. So I think it was just like you could generally feel the excitement around Farcaster. So that to me was A+.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Ted, you're providing conversational liquidity.
Exactly.
Thank you. Yes.
We are we're conversational liquidity providers. Do not discount that. So yeah, absolutely. And so and I also just want to tap into the rest of your 36 hours in Denver. What else did you love? What else kind of stood out to you from this like experience before you had to take off?
This is hard. Oh, I was like pulled in so many different directions, but seeing people I love in person that I know online, like even people who I was like just meeting, it's like that spark of when someone's like, oh, I'm trying to think, horsefax, easiest one. Horsefax is just like, I'm horsefax, you know, every reaction, and people know this. I was like, oh my God. And like immediately hugged them. And so for me, that was just really fun, is to see all these people who I know and love and respect in person. And like, I don't know, I feel like my online energy is a pretty good representation of my offline energy, but I feel like it also, you probably feel it like 100x when you're in person with me. So that's what made me the most happy. And like my biggest regret, and obviously I said this, is like not spending more time with people. Like I just wish I had infinitely more time. So that's it.
I so agree with that. That was like my favorite moments were the quieter moments with, like I said, we had, breakfast one morning with Grace and Erica, and Oksana, yeah, and it was amazing. And Grace and I hung out for like another couple hours after that, just like
literally
coffee
You
shop.
can hang out with Grace forever.
I know. It was great. It was great. It was fantastic. I'm like, I got to go back to my hotel. And she, cool. And she just like hung out in the living room part while I was like running around. It was awesome. And those are like the moments that I, regret not having more of. Like it's just not enough time. So I'm looking forward to May in FarCon. And I'm like, I'm going to add on some days. I need to add on some extra days to just hang in Venice and just chill. So Erica, I want to go to you and talk about the event on Saturday night. I know you helped a little bit, or I don't even know how much you helped. You might have helped a lot of it in planning or in executing, maybe. And so how did all that go down? Were you happy with like the way things went and all of that? She's just nodding. Yeah, we need audio too.
I know. I was letting you finish your stream of questions. I was just like, okay, what question am I going to start with?
I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. Give them all to me. Happy to answer. I will say 100% of the credit goes to like Matthew from events and Graham for supporting. Like I just emotionally supported them over the like days preceding up to the event, because all of a sudden we realized we had like over 1,000 people interested in the event and not even close to that much capacity. And so I would say like I was a good emotional supporter, but I did not do any logistics. I did absolutely nothing other than was a good friend and a good housemate. So yeah, that was where
Erica is your emotional support friend. This is good to know.
Yes, yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about poop in this call, or is that still
is that still quiet, or are we allowed to discuss that? Because I still don't know why I have a poop emoji in my profile, but I was told I had to do it, and I just did it.
Yeah, I'll give the GM Farcasters a little bit of alpha, especially since like I think there's very few people watching right now, and we'll announce it in a few days. But poop is like shit posting is bad. Shit posting is good. Like that's funny. Like yeah, people who shit post, it's funny. But a poop post just like sounds kind of lame. Like, oh, poop post, like, oh, they made a poop post, And I have to give that credit to user Steen. They posted it in the poop channel. By the way, there is a poop channel. So go and follow it if you want to hear what poop is actually about. But yeah, that's the most hint that I can give you, is that shit posting is good and a poop post is a bad post.
And a poop post is a bad post. Okay. All I know is that you came up and said, put poop in your profile. And I was just like, okay. Fine. Like I was like, what? And then just do it. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, I think I have a trustworthy energy. So, like people just do what I tell them to do, and it's easy.
Let's hope this doesn't go bad. I have no idea what I signed up for, but I was like, sure.
What's really good about it is that like it's a value add. It's not just going to be another shit coin.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I'm intrigued. I am very intrigued.
That is the tagline. That's got to be the tagline. It's like poop, not another shitcoin.
I mean, clearly. Yeah. That's a great
have a
tagline.
Lot of taglines buzzing around in our heads. We've dumped a few good ones.
The puns are going to be too much.
It's insane.
The puns are going to be too much. I do want to show this from Forward Dutch real quick. It has a nice picture of the room, so that everyone on the screen can see this. And it's like jam-packed, absolutely jam-packed. And he made a comment about meeting everybody in person. I'm like, I don't think I met you. He's like, yeah, you did. I was the one in the black shirt. And I was like, oh, you were that guy. Oh, the guy in the black oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Matthew if he actually checked into the event, because I have sneaking suspicions that he was not actually there.
Florida just always gaslighting. He is always
He was
gaslighting.
definitely not there.
I don't know
I guarantee
anything
he was
else
not
other
in
than I feel
Denver.
like he was just not there. Just like Graham was not at the base party.
Yeah, Graham was never at the base party. He never
This
made
is
it.
hilarious. Grace, Ted mentioned this, and I wanted to ask you about, you were on a panel at Edge City, correct?
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit about like how that came about and what you were talking about there?
Yeah, it was a really fun panel. It came about pretty last minute, but it was part of the Social Oneness Day. So I guess Edge City, like every day they had a different theme, and they had like an AI day.
Oh, cool.
I forget what other like Erica, you went to some of them, but the last day was all about social. And Social Graph Ventures just recently invested in us. They do small checks, but they are like an awesome community run, like DAO run VC. So they were part of the sponsors of the events, I think, putting it together, as well as Mask Network, which is like pretty big in Asia. And the panel was great. It was like, who was on it? David Furlong, so DF from Farcaster, me and Brian, which this was our first time doing like a panel together in person, which was kind of fun. I didn't really know what our vibes were going to be like playing off each other, like speaking in front of people. But I feel like it worked. Like it felt nice to have someone else on the panel, and like love to everybody that was on it. Obviously, I was the only like female speaker on the panel besides the moderator. And someone at the end of the event, another girl was like, "Who was that guy that interrupted you? He like spoke over you when you were chatting." And I was like, I'm glad I'm not the only person that noticed that, because I really was like, I had the mic, I was speaking, and like someone just felt like they needed to cut in. It happens. It happens. Exactly. You know, no hard feelings, but I just thought it was hilarious that like the only other woman in the audience was like, I saw that. I noticed that.
Noted.
But it was a really fun chat. I mean, there was a lot of Farcaster talk, a lot of frames talk. They did ask for like everyone's hot takes on like, you know, whether if you could like give feedback to the Farcaster team. Brian obviously was like, yeah, I have opinions on this.
Opinions. I have opinions.
He has opinions, but I feel like he toned it down, or at least, you know, he stated it in a way that was like, yeah, that's fair enough. Like everyone kind of was bought into it.
Oh, that's interesting. I do want to show also at the event on Saturday night, I forgot to show this before, we had the Coinbase Girl Scout cookie activation there, where you could buy Girl Scout cookies on base with USDC, and that was awesome. I was like so excited that the Girl Scouts are there and that we could support them. And also, this is the second time I'd used the base commerce, and the first time was at Basel, and this was so smooth. Like big improvements, like just getting there to the point where this is going to be a regular thing, where we're just going to be buying stuff with crypto all the time, and that would make my life a lot easier because then I don't have to deal with banks. But so that was pretty awesome. What else did you guys see while you were at ETH Denver, anywhere, like at any activation event or at the main event, that like jumped out at you that you thought was really interesting, or a panel that you heard or anything like that? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but anything that like kind of jumped out at you?
I would honestly say, and everyone's been talking about this on Farcaster already, so it's probably nothing new, but like when you went up to someone and met them for the first time, their first question was, are you on Farcaster? Like, are you on Farcaster or Telegram or X? But like that was the first one. And that was very, very high signal to me.
Yeah, that's very new. That hasn't happened before. That's awesome. How about you?
I mean, I think, yeah, like Eric and I talked about this, and then I think even just the fact that it's us four talking about this right now with the ETH Denver recap, like there were a lot of really fucking cool women at ETH Denver, and it felt awesome. Like it just felt like you weren't just that one person. I mean, maybe if you're on a panel, you are still that one person, but at least when you're out and about in the audience, meeting people at events, like there was just a totally different vibe to it. So I love that.
I would agree with that. I saw a lot more women on stages that weren't panels about women in Web3.
Yeah.
Like I did not see one panel about women in Web3. It was just women on panels about
Right.
Web3, which was awesome. And then I did see just a lot more women in all the rooms, which, we're moving in the right direction. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
It's still a small percentage, but it's definitely getting better. Adrienne, what about you? What did you like? What stood out to you? What did you see that was interesting or exciting?
I just felt like piggybacking onto what Erica said, where it's just everyone you're meeting is like, who are you on Farcaster? And kind of the tie into social. I was going around, I met a lot of people who are on Farcaster, but not active.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of doing the pitch of like, this is why you have to become active on social. So like I probably talked about half a dozen people and like literally tagging them in casts now and trying to get them to cast. They know who they are if they're hearing this. So just kind of encouraging that. I guess other things is, it's like in timing, it's like price go up over the weekend, energy go up, but then also like scams go up.
Yes. Yeah.
And kind of the revisit of that and just kind of like noticing different vibes again.
Yeah, definitely bull market vibes, even if it's not, knock on wood, a bull market yet, but that's up for debate, but it definitely has that vibe where there's a lot of people coming out of the woodwork. So be careful out there. So it's both good and bad, definitely both good and bad. I do want to point out a couple more quick things. This was our calm before the storm at our event on Saturday morning. We already chatted about this earlier, but I did want to say thank you to both Grace and Erica for coming by and singing and getting a shirt. Grace, did you get a shirt? I wasn't sure if you
got a
sang a
shirt.
Okay,
Adrienne
making
got
sure.
the shirt. Yeah.
And she's wearing it. Yes, and you were wearing it that night too, which I loved. I loved seeing that floating around. We definitely need to get more because that was a very coveted swag. So we need to make some more, Adrienne. I also, by the way, I have pins for you. They arrived while I was in Denver. So you'll get one eventually. And then I loved this from Cameron. I mentioned this earlier today, but I think it got cut off in our little glitch. Cameron said, I'm pretty loud here, but IRL, I tend to mostly listen. From ETH Denver 2023 to FarCon 1 to last night's meetup to the already electric FarCon 2. It's been amazing to see people's affinity evolve. Nothing is inevitable, but the breaks of the game are clearly stacking in favor of our steadfast purple app. And I thought that was kind of ties into like what we all were feeling as well and seeing as well is this sort of, even if people aren't actively on Farcaster yet, they're intrigued, they're interested. And I think a lot of that is from frames and some of the other stuff that we've seen lately. So I think that you all kind of got the same feeling from what I'm hearing is that, everyone's interested and everyone's coming and we're in the right place. And we made the right decision this time. We were early to the right thing. Woohoo! As opposed to like
to be social and not some stupid token.
Exactly. We're not gonna generational wealth gonna come a little different this time.
Yeah.
Gonna be a little slower. May not have that same, shitcoin flip kind of thing, but it's the friends we made along the way. There we go. It's for real. And I also loved what July said here. 2024, the best ETH Denver I've ever been to. It wasn't the event itself that makes it special, but rather the people. Thank you. And then he also said, so many more people I wanted to see, so many people that I saw, so many others, and so much that had to come together for all this to happen. The people in our lives, the internet, Farcaster, for a bunch of initially random people to come together and do some randomly beautiful things / connections. And I just thought that was a lovely sentiment, and it was lovely to meet July. So that was pretty cool that he came to our little GM Farcaster meetup. So that was a lot of fun, and he looks nothing like a Roman statue.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I do associate people with their PFPs, and then also the name July. I just wasn't expecting an Asian man. Like I just was not. Like,
way to out him.
There are so many Asian men. Like, there's no way that you can differentiate. Come on now.
Well, yeah, I didn't even think about it really. I didn't know what to expect, but it was kind of funny. It was like, oh, you look nothing like your PFP. Of course not. Yeah. Your PFP is a Roman god. of the whatever century.
But this is why I bring a fox mask so people can associate Foxy.
Somehow you match your fox mask like energy. Like
You
I
really
wasn't
do.
shocked to see you.
Energy, yes, but that's because I have my face. I post so many pictures and I do the show.
That's true.
So you already
That's
knew,
true. Yeah,
even if you didn't know how short I was, Grace. Even if you took off tall girl
This is
energy.
usually why I show up like this, just to confirm everything. Like I show up with noggles and everyone's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it is you. I also have a bag with my PFP on it that I usually am carrying. It makes it a lot easier. I want to mention one more thing, and that is
hey, Prof,
ponder. Sorry.
I was gonna say, just real quick, because as we're talking about doxing, and the other thing the other observation I had is like, I just think crypto conferences are so cool, where the default is privacy.
Yeah.
So like everywhere we were at, it was just like everyone's asking, "Can I take your picture? Do you want to be posted?" And just I appreciated that. So we're getting, I think we're getting shit in the chat for doxing people right now.
You go in things, like people like they'll have name tags even that'll say no pictures or whatever, or people are pretty good about that and making sure. So one last thing I want to mention before we wrap is Ponder has a little survey going live in the /survey channel. Vote how many Farcasters did you meet in person at ETH Denver, and you pick which one. I definitely had 25 plus. So make sure you go and do that, because I'm really curious to see those results. I think it's going to be quite high. If you went to any of the Farcaster meetups, I think you're getting 25 plus. But if you didn't, then maybe not. But I'm really curious. So we are at our 21-minute time. I do want to be conscious of everyone's time in the evening, especially, but I do want to do one last roundup. I mentioned my favorite time were those quiet moments where I got to really connect with people and spend some time with them. And Adrienne and I obviously had a lot of time together, and we got to really dig into what we're working on next, which we'll talk about more tomorrow morning. But for you all, what were some of those highlights? Throwing it back to you.
I would say my biggest highlight was probably at the Farcaster meetup with Adrienne, and we just like looked each other in the face and we were like, think about a year from now. Like, what's a year from now going to look like? And that was just like when everything kind of all fit in my mind, and I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen. Yeah, that was probably my favorite, like, this is going to live rent free in my head for the rest of my life moment, where I'm like that locking eyes with someone and just being like,
I love that.
Things are going to change.
I love that. I was thinking when I walked in.
Very romantic.
I was in our space for like 2 seconds for our little event, and I was like, I'm booking this for next year. And then by the end, I was like, Matthew and I were like, we're booking the whole thing for a whole day. like renting this place out.
It's like you guys get a little idea and then it just snowballs immediately.
It doesn't take long. It does not take long. What? What do you mean? What do you mean? A whole media network was not what you had in mind from a tiny little podcast? What are you talking about? So Grace, what about for you? What were some of those, like, what was that special moments?
Yeah, I would say besides all of the kind of like, honestly, like spending time with all of you guys and all those moments that we had, I had a really awesome conversation with Devin, who is, I guess, also not Devin.
Not Devin?
Yep. So maybe we were bonded.
Not Devin and not Grace met in person.
Exactly. And it's just, he's such an interesting guy because he's obviously, I mean, like he's known, at least from the Unlonely perspective, for literally jumping off cliffs and like clearly being an adrenaline junkie, but then in person is so calm and like not that kind of like, oh my God, I just need to be like adrenaline high all the time kind of person at all. And then like we just got really deep into his life story, and I won't share too much of it here, but it was like super, like he was like, 4 ventures that he started over the course of his career, all really different stories, all really different industries. His path was like very, very windy, as a lot of ours are into crypto.
Sounds familiar.
Especially, I guess, like, especially if you're kind of, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but if you're like on the more mature end of the spectrum, have had, the time for like a longer career. Adrienne's looking at me like side eye.
Is that what we're
doing? I loved hanging out with you guys because it was so interesting to be able to hear about like your personal journeys into crypto and just feel like how youthful your energy was and like how much more I can relate to you than to like even my, my parents who I love, like, who would just like never understand this. and how cool that is, and like how inspiring it is that I could, have a whole nother career and then do it again.
Sure.
Maybe like
And
and
again,
again and again
Yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe
and
one more
again.
time. And then
And
maybe
Grace,
back.
I loved hanging out with you. And I've actually said, and hanging out with Greg and Dillstack at the
Yeah.
meetup. And I like made it when first time I met Dylan, he was telling me his parents are maybe a little older than me, but in New York, but in finance, but not into crypto. And I'm like, I was like, I want to go hang out with them and convert them. But either way, but why I think it's like, I'm a different generations, but it's like I have more in common with sometimes younger generations, and kind of the we come together. It doesn't really matter where you're from, what age you are.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool.
100%.
Totally agree with that. Yeah. I definitely didn't feel, there were moments I felt old. Like anytime somebody was like, and it starts at 10, I'm like, no, I'm out. See ya. And
Robin trying to get a table at the Coinbase party, and I'm like, I'm in. And then I found out what time it was. I'm out. Have fun.
I'm in. Wait, it starts at 10. Oh, okay. Never mind then.
No.
Tell me when your happy hour is. Yeah. So that's what we appreciated the Farcaster thing starting at 5. We really did. But even by 8:30, I'm like, I'm out of here. I gotta go. Done. But it was really fun. But I love that. You don't see us as old fogies. I really appreciate that. Because I do feel like that sometimes, but it was amazing. And I am so looking I'm so looking forward to FarCon. Like I can't even wait. I'm so excited to see all of you again in person. Grace, one more thing before we leave. How was the Unlonely House?
Unlonely House was amazing. Oh my goodness. I really wanted to curate it in a way where it didn't get out of hand, because I just knew that if we let it get out of hand, it would turn into a rager, and I didn't want that on my hands. So I'm actually really happy that it was just kind of like the low-key hangout spot for people that we like and trust and allowed to come into our space. And then it just made it really easy for me to be like, yeah, okay, come here. Like, I'm here. Come hang out whenever you're free.
That's awesome.
And it was gorgeous. Like, I mean, Erica was there. We had a hot tub. We had great space.
Everyone's rooms had a hot tub. Like everyone's houses had a hot tub in Colorado.
Yeah,
I'm so confused by that.
So it's maybe like a crypto requirement that if you book a house, there has to be a hot tub.
I guess so, because that's the nouns guys all had I was like, no, I'm not staying with you. They had a house too with a yellow door for Yellow Collective, but they had a hot tub too. And I was like, as soon as we're getting a hot tub, I'm like, yep, see ya, I'm out, bye. Have fun. I'm done. But it was the same kind of thing. I'm like, why is everybody have a hot tub in Colorado? It's freezing out there. But that was the thing. That was the thing to do, I guess. Did you end up streaming from the hot tub? Because I think I missed it if you did.
No, I didn't end up streaming from the hot tub, but we did have Coop come over, and Coop and Robin streamed their DJ's AMA from the house.
That's awesome. Very cool. So we'll look forward to future Unlonely Houses that are managed and responsible by Grace. All right. Any other last notes before we wrap? Adrienne, how are you doing? Are you surviving? Now she's on vacation.
Well, I'm still in Colorado, so I've not been able to decompress, and I think I need a vacation after
this
week.
Yeah. And I'm still trying to get out the interviews from Friday, which I've gotten one out. So I'm getting the rest out. Not yet. You'll be the first to know. You will be the first to know.
Okay,
it's probably I've got 2 more before I get to that part. So 2 more to go. And then, but I am determined, like I'm not sleeping until these get out. That's it. I'm very close, but hopefully it's happening. But that is it for us. So we're going to be back tomorrow morning. Adrienne and I are going to be back at 8:30. No, we're not. 10:30 Eastern. Like, no, not 8:30. 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 Mountain Time. And for our regular GM Farcaster, where we'll be chatting probably a little bit more wrap up from Eat Denver, but also all the things that are happening now. So Adrienne, please sure to grab some links for
Yeah.
And then Friday, because Adrienne's not available, we have a special guest host. Do you know who it is, Adrienne?
It's not Adrienne.
It's not Adrienne. It's Erica. It's Erica. This is a little preview. Erica, not Adrienne. will be my co-host on Friday. Very exciting. That will be back at our regular 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So we will see you all tomorrow morning. Thanks for popping into this crazy time that we did to help us finish up our wrap up from today. I'm going to push this out just a little bit to our regular platforms, and we will see you in the morning right here on Unlonely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.